Hello, today we will see the steering system used in an automobile. We will see what is the function of steering, what is the need of steering, the typical steering system layout, the types of steering mechanisms, types of steering gearboxes, condition for true ruling, the steering geometry, what are the different parameters that are important as far as the steering geometry is considered, understeer and oversteer conditions, and the power steering. So basically, what is the function of steering system? Why a steering system is needed? A steering system is required to achieve angular motion of the front wheels to negotiate a turn. So the basic function is to turn our vehicle, we need the steering system. To turn a vehicle, typically the front wheels have to rotate so that the vehicle's direction will also change. During this turn, the vehicle should be perfectly stable. So the steering system also has to provide the directional stability during the turning as well as the straight road. During turning, it should provide the perfect steering condition. So what is meant by perfect steering condition? It is to provide the perfect rolling motion of road wheels at all times. It should not happen that one of the wheel is slipping. If one of the wheel slips, the traction will be lost and vehicle will skid. So the steering system also has to provide perfect rolling condition at all times. That means during the straight path as well as curved path. Another function of the steering system is to facilitate straight ahead recovery after completing a turn. Straight ahead recovery means when we negotiate a turn, after the turn finishes, when the steering wheel is released, the vehicle should automatically move along a straight path. That is called as straight ahead recovery. After a turn, the steering system should align the wheels along the straight path, and by default, the vehicle should run in a straight path. So these are the functions and requirements of the steering system. The basic requirements are the steering system should be accurate and easy to handle. The effort required by the driver should be minimum. The driver should not be fatigued by using continuously steering system. It should provide directional stability. First, we will see the basic steering geometry. What are the different angles or terms that are important as far as the steering geometry is considered? First term is camber angle. It is also called as wheel rake. Consider this figure. Consider this is the wheel and this is the kingpin. This is the inclined axis of the wheel and this is the inclined axis of the kingpin. Kingpin means the axis about which the front wheels are to be rotated during a turn. That axis is called as kingpin axis. This is the vertical line and this is the axis of the wheel. Okay. So camber angle is nothing but the tilt of wheels from the vertical when it is viewed from the front side. Okay. So whatever this angle is there, this angle is shown vertical line and the axis of the wheel. The angle between these two axes is called as camber angle. Generally, it is kept as positive. Positive camber angle means when when the wheel tilts outward at the top. If this top end, if this top end the camber angle in running condition should be 0, but when in standstill condition, or we can say the unload on condition, the camber angle is provided positive, so that during running condition it will become 0. This positive camber angle also helps in increasing straight ahead stability, as it helps to return the wheel after completing a turn in a straight direction. Its value is up to 2 degree. The next term is kingpin inclination, or we can say the steering axis inclination. We have already seen the kingpin. It is the axis about which the wheel rotates. It is the kingpin inclination is the angle between vertical and the kingpin axis when it is viewed from the front direction of the wheel. This angle also helps in straight ahead recovery after completing a turn. Its general value is kept as 7 degree to 8 degree. Combined angle, or it is also called as included angle. It is nothing but the sum of camber angle and kingpin inclination. As it is shown in the figure, it is the angle between the wheel axis and kingpin axis. Its value is generally 9 degree to 10 degree. The next term is toe in and toe out. Toe in and toe out are the conditions caused by the combined position of the front wheels. If the front end of the wheels point outwards, it is called as toe out. If the front end of the wheels point inwards, it is called as toe in. So consider this first figure. This is the front end of the vehicle. These are the front ends of the front wheels. These are pointing inwards. This is called as toe in condition. In this second figure, the front ends are pointing outwards away from the center axis. This condition is called as toe out. Generally, the vehicle is kept in toe in conditions. It is kept like this to compensate for any movement within ball joints. Toe out is not at all desired. Scrub radius. What is called as scrub radius? Consider this figure. In this middle figure, figure B, the scrub radius is 0. And here, in either of these two figures, it has a positive value and negative value. Scrub radius is positive when the point of intersection of wheel axis and steering axis lies below the ground. Okay, so if we consider this figure, here the intersection of wheel axis and kingpin axis lies below the ground. This is called as positive scrub radius condition. While in this condition, the intersection of these two axes lies above the ground. It is called as negative scrub radius condition. The positive scrub radius condition results in toe out, while negative scrub radius condition results in toe in. Okay. The scrub radius is nothing but the distance between the intersection of these two axes with the ground. Okay. So here the intersection is at the ground. So scrub radius is 0. Here the intersection is above the ground. So this kingpin axis cuts the ground at this point. The wheel cuts the ground at this point. The distance between these 2 points is called as scrub radius. So in this case, this distance is scrub radius. In this case, the distance between this point and this point is called as scrub radius. The point at which each of the axes cuts at the ground, these are most important. Their significance lies because through this point the tractive effort acts, and through this point the road resistance acts. That is, where the wheel axis cuts the ground, the road resistance acts. Where the kingpin axis cuts the ground, tractive effort acts. The next term is caster angle. It is the angle between kingpin axis and vertical when they are viewed in the plane of wheel. So this is the plane of wheel. When we are looking at the wheel from the sides, the angle between this kingpin axis and the vertical is called as caster angle. Caster angle is said to be positive if kingpin axis meets the ground ahead of the vertical wheel center line. So in this case, it is positive caster angle. Okay. Next, we will see what is the condition for true rolling. Condition for true rolling should be satisfied by the steering system at all times. Condition for true rolling ensures that no wheel is slipping from the road surface. The true rolling occurs when the direction of wheel motion is perpendicular to its axis. Okay, what does it say? When direction of wheel motion is perpendicular to its axis. Okay. So consider these two front wheels. What is the direction of wheel motion? If this wheel is considered, this is the direction of wheel motion, which should be always perpendicular to its axis. Okay. If this wheel is considered, this is the direction of wheel motion, it should be always perpendicular to its axis. Okay. So if you want to satisfy this condition, this geometry arises. Okay. So for correct steering, all the wheels should run about the same instantaneous center. So this point is called as instantaneous center. It is called as instantaneous center because it is instantaneous position. Its position is not fixed. If we turn more, this center will move in the inward direction. Okay. So its position is not fixed. That's why it is called as instantaneous center. So if all the wheels rotate about this instantaneous center, this true rolling condition will be satisfied. Okay. So if we see this geometry, we can write cot phi equal to y plus c divided by b. Okay. So what is y is this distance, c is this distance, and b is this distance. C is the distance between two kingpins and b is the wheelbase of the vehicle. So we can arrive to this condition cot phi minus cot theta is equal to c by b. So this is called as condition for true rolling. If our steering system at all times satisfies this condition, then we can say that the condition for true rolling is satisfied. So this is the different steering angles and radii for different wheels. If we consider front two wheels, RIF and ROF, these are the two front steering wheels. Their turning radius can be found out by this relation. Okay. For inner rear wheel and outer rear wheel, their turning radii can also be found out by this relation. These are nothing but the expressions for the values of radii of individual wheel. Then we will see the steering mechanisms. Basically, there are two steering mechanisms, Ackermann mechanism and Davis mechanism. First, we will say Ackermann mechanism. So this is nothing but your Ackermann mechanism. It has two bell cranks. This is left side bell crank. This is the right side bell crank. It has two turning pairs. It satisfies the condition of true rolling, or we can say correct steering, only at three positions. Okay. First position will be while traveling along a straight path. Second condition will be at an angle theta on left side and at an angle theta on the right side. So at these three angle conditions, this Ackermann mechanism perfectly satisfies the condition of true rolling. This mechanism is more durable and has less maintenance due to turning pairs. So it is universally used. Almost all the vehicles use this Ackermann mechanism. So this is the Ackermann steering geometries. The different angles occurred during steering can be found out from this relation. The next mechanism is Davis mechanism. This mechanism has sliding pairs on contrary to the turning pairs in Ackermann mechanism. This mechanism provides accurate turning condition at all times. That means it satisfies the true rolling condition at all the values of turning. So how is the construction? We can see there is one bell crank on left side and another bell crank on right side. This is the turning pair. This is also a turning pair. This tie rod is held by these two sliding pairs. Okay. Though this mechanism provides accurate turning conditions, but due to the sliding joints, the mechanism loses its accuracy very rapidly, so it is not used in practice. Then we'll see the slip angle, understeer and oversteer. What is slip angle? It is the angle between wheel inclination and path taken by the wheel. It is the angle between wheel inclination and path taken by wheel. Sometimes what happens, the vehicle wheel moves in another direction instead of the axis of the wheel. The angle between these two directions is called as slip angle. Okay. So see here, this is the wheel axis. Okay. Theoretically, what should happen for perfect rolling? The vehicle wheel should move in this direction only along the axis of the wheel, but the wheel is moving in this direction. Okay. So the angle between the direction of motion of wheel and the wheel axis is called as slip angle. So depending upon the different conditions of slip angle, understeer and oversteer occurs. When slip angle at rear wheels is less than front wheels, it is called as understeer. When slip angle at rear wheels is more than front wheels, it is called as oversteer. When all slip angles are same, it is called as neutral steer. Understeer means even if you provide the steering wheel input, the wheels do not turn sufficiently. This condition is called as understeer. While oversteer means even at the small input of steering wheels, the wheel turn a lot. That is called as oversteer condition. Then we'll see the steering system layout. What are the different parts of the typical steering system? Most of the parts for all the steering system will remain the same. Only few parts will be increased or decreased. So let us see the general main parts for a steering system. First element is the steering wheel. This is the steering wheel. The second element is steering column. It is also called as steering shaft. The next element is steering gearbox. The output of the steering gearbox will be called as cross shaft. It is called as cross shaft as it is placed at 90 degrees to the steering column. After cross shaft, there is drop arm. It is also called as Pitman arm. A drop arm further passes its motion to a drag link. Then there is drag link arm. Then there are tie rods and tie rod arms. These are the main parts of steering system. Okay. The steering gearbox converts the motion from the steering wheel and steering column in appropriate direction and at appropriate ratio. Okay. Drag link converts the rotary motion into a to and fro motion, or we can say reciprocatory motion. Up to the output of the steering gearbox, the motion is a rotary one. This drag link converts this rotary motion at the output of steering gearbox in the sliding motion. So this is the 3D model of a steering gear box. This is the steering column, steering gear box, and this is the cross shaft, and this is called as drop arm. This is your drag link. This is the tie rod which is connected to the two stub axles via track rod arms. Okay. Then we'll see types of steering gear boxes. These are the different types of steering gear boxes. First is worm and worm wheel. This is the simplest type of steering gear box. Worm is connected at the end of steering shaft while the sector is mounted on the cross shaft. Its 3D model can be seen at this figure. Worm and nut steering gear. Here is a worm is connected at the end of steering shaft. The steering wheel rotates the worm, which in turn slides the nut along a length. So this is the nut that is mounted on this worm. This nut is not allowed to rotate along with worm. Due to the restriction on its rotation, it slides either on left side or right side. This causes the rotation of drop arm which is attached to this nut. This type of steering gear box reduces the wear and tear and increases the life of steering gear box. Next is worm and roller steering gear. Here the worm gear is connected to the steering shaft. The gear tooth of worm gear meshes with that of roller and motion is achieved. It has very low friction because there are no sliding parts. There are moving or we can say mating parts. This is the worm. At this end, the steering column will be connected. The output will be taken at this cross shaft. When this worm rotates, this roller also rotates along with the worm. Its rotation reduces friction to a minimum value. When this worm rotates, it also rotates along this cross shaft. Recirculating ball type. Here a nut is used with the balls that reduces the friction and power loss. Here the balls are circulated between worm and nut to reduce the friction. Due to the negligible friction, more steering effort can be transmitted and the life expectancy of this steering gearbox is very much higher. Rack and pinion. Here the pinion will be attached to the steering shaft which meshes with a flat rack on the tie rod. This type of gearbox is preferred for the compact vehicles. Then power steering. What is power steering? Power steering is nothing but when we use an additional power source to accomplish the steering action. Basically, there are two types of power steerings, integral type or linkage type. In integral type, the pressure surface is located in the steering gear, while in linkage type, the pressure surface is located external power cylinder. The main parts of integral type power steering are hydraulic pump and steering gear. While in case of linkage type, linkages are used. It mainly consists of a hydraulic pump, double acting cylinder and steering gear. The integral type of power steering is integral part of the steering gear mechanism, while the linkage type, the power steering assembly is integral part of linkages. Let us see what is exactly integral power steering. This figure shows the integral power steering. Here there are number of linkages. Here oil pump and pressure hoses are mounted. These are the two wheels. In integral power system, the power piston is built into the steering gear itself. This figure shows the integral power system that is actually used. This is your integral power steering system. This is the linkage power steering system. Here you can see there are number of linkages which are located outside the main or conventional steering system. Okay, so this is the steering gearbox, this is the tie rod and wheels, and the hydraulic pump, the control valve, and the double acting cylinder is mounted outside our conventional steering gear mechanism. This is the linkage power steering. And the last one is electronic power steering. In this type of system, the energy is consumed only during steering. In this type of power steering, an external motor is attached to the conventional steering power system. So when we provide input to the steering wheel, the motor comes into action and provides additional rotation effort to the steering wheel.